My boyfriend, male 23, secretly destroyed my female 22 hobbies because he was jealous of me spending time with them instead of him. Plus updates. Original post. This is honestly the weirdest thing I've ever experienced and have no idea what to do. So I, female 21, have a lot of hobbies. I'm sort of what you might call a hobby collector, lol. But my top ones right now are running, training for a marathon, baking, reading, and doing something called junk journaling. Not sure if anyone is familiar. Specifically reading, I've been doing since I was a young teenager. This started about 6 months ago when I saw that several of my old books were dog-eared, which I don't do to my books. I asked my boyfriend if he had read them, which I would be totally fine with, but he insisted he hadn't touched them. Odd, but whatever. Then after that, I literally could never find my running shoes. I bought a rather expensive pair and keep them separate from my other shoes because I'm a nurse and my hospital shoes are nasty, LMAO. But the running shoes I could never find. They would always turn up days later though, somewhere I definitely hadn't put them. Again, odd but whatever. And then my journal got completely destroyed. Somehow it was left outside in our garage, where it is known to leak when it rains. It didn't necessarily get water damaged, but the moisture made all of my pages peel up and practically 28 pages ruined. The pages took me over an hour each, and I'm quite proud of them. 28 plus hours of my artwork ruined. This is so stupid, but I genuinely started to believe the house was haunted, LMAO. I did shed a few tears over my journal, and my boyfriend rolled his eyes at that, but helps me glue them all back down and salvage as much as possible. I had a fleeting thought that he put it out there, but it was honestly so weird, I was like, why would he? Then, it was back to my books. I have a huge bookshelf with about 200 plus books because I read daily. I started to notice one by one that they were freaking disappearing. Like straight up, gone. I searched every corner of the house and could not find them. I even texted all 3 of my sisters, my brother and my boyfriend's sister, asking if they had borrowed any and didn't tell me. They all said they hadn't. My boyfriend's sister borrows my books often, but she always asks and insisted she didn't have any. When this happened, I was like, WTF? And then it was my baking. I could never find my mixers or my baking sheets or anything whenever I wanted to bake. The final straw though was when I found my KitchenAid mixer broken. Literally just would not turn on. And if you don't know, those things are expensive. So I straight up asked him, did you do this? Like, why is all my stuff broken or lost recently? He finally admitted to purposely hiding or breaking my things because my hobbies annoy him. I'm not gonna lie, I exploded. I told him he was a weirdo for touching my stuff and that it was honestly so strange to do this as an adult. He proceeded to defend himself, saying that I was spending more time in my made-up hobbies than with him, and this was the only way to make me focus in our relationship again. Which, for context, isn't true at all. We still have a great relationship, or so I thought. We go on dates twice a week, get intimate regularly, we get along with each other's families and friends. Like, I'm so confused. We've been together for 2 whole years. I love him so much. And other than this odd behavior, he's so good to me. After that argument, I was genuinely so distraught that I left the house and went to my sister's house to live together. They also agreed it was the oddest thing in the world. The icing on the freaking cake when I got home this morning was that he threw out all of my things. Cut the soles out of my running shoes, cut the laces, threw out my Apple Watch, destroyed the baking things, cut the silicone molds, the box that all my missing books were in, and the freaking dumpster with all of my other journal supplies. The journal he helped me fix was turned to shreds. I genuinely started to sob. I know it sounds dumb and overdramatic, but I genuinely worked so hard in my journal that it made me cry. Literally hundreds of dollars, and some of my favorite books in the trash. Money spent on baking supplies, which I used to bake for my baby cousin's elementary school, ruined. I just don't understand what is wrong with him. He's never been like this before, ever. I'm genuinely so freaking confused what has gotten into him. What do I do? What has gotten into him? Is it something else he could be projecting? I'm genuinely so confused. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. He's a freaking psycho. Kick him out, change the locks and sue him. Police report and get a paper trail ASAP. It literally doesn't matter how much he hasn't been like this. Either he started watching some Andrew TT, or he was just waiting till he thought you wouldn't leave for this behavior. You have lost hundreds of dollars worth of belongings. You need to take a picture of everything. The shoes would be a great example. Your dog couldn't be blamed because it cut the soles out, and it's illogical to assume you would destroy your own very expensive shoes. I'm not a lawyer, but you might be able to sue for the property value and emotional damages. Keep all texts regarding this incident if you have them, and see if you can get him to confess to it over text as well. Anything like, "I'm so sorry I destroyed your stuff, please come back," would work. He's an abusive a-hole. Leave him. You deserve someone who encourages and celebrates your interests. And the thing is, up until like those 6 months ago, he literally always would. I even got him to read some of my favorite books. I'm just so confused what snapped for him. So weird, and it genuinely scares me. Yeah, that was just him faking. This abusive crap is the real him. Abusers will pretend to be normal, but normal people don't pretend to be abusers unless they actually are. Yeah, I just can't believe he was able to act normal for a year and a half. Actually, longer than a year and a half because we knew each other for a year prior to dating. I literally never expected something like this from him. It's so hard to leave someone because they hate your hobbies. It's so odd. This is not why you'd be leaving him. You'd be leaving him because he is a deeply cruel person who would rather systematically destroy your happiness than have any attention be directed away from himself. Hate is a feeling. What he did is intentional, prolonged, horrifyingly abusive action. It's just so hard to think that he was being abusive to me. I never in a million years would have thought he did this. He's never once made me feel unsafe. Now for the mini updates. I'm still not there. I'm with my sisters deciding what I need to do next. Thank you everyone for the comments and help. I really am grateful for it. Another update. A few people have messaged me to let me know that my post has been posted on TikTok and one of the Reddit story things. My boyfriend is active on TikTok, and if he sees it, this will be a million times worse. I don't know what to do about that either. I'm just digging myself in deeper holes now. And also, I know everyone is very concerned about my pup, but they also say do not go alone. I don't know which is worse, leaving her there or going alone to get her tonight. Now for the full update. Thank you for all your advice yesterday. A lot of people were very concerned for me, and that is honestly mind-blowing. If all you want is to know that I am okay, I am. If you want to know the full story, here. I decided last night that I really needed to go get my dog, as a lot of people said that he was going to hurt her or even end her when I wouldn't come back. I didn't tell him I was coming, just went with my sister and let myself in with my key. He was upstairs, but came down immediately, apologizing, begging me to just talk, telling me I was overreacting, all that. I just ignored him and grabbed my puppy. I told him I was taking her and my few things and that I would be back later tomorrow, as in today, with my other sisters and brother to collect my things. I told him that if he touched any more of my stuff, I was going to take him to the small claims court like all of you suggested. And honestly, I was considering it now for everything he did prior. He was so stricken, and I could tell he started to get mad at that point. I ran around the house to collect my few really important things, passport, laptop, work badge. He followed me around the whole time, just begging me to give him another chance. I just ignored him. My sister took pictures of the things still destroyed. We put them all in our hallway closet for some odd freaking reason. I didn't tell him I was going to file a police report, which is why I think when my sister started to get snappy when we were leaving, calling him a few names, he shoved her out of the doorway she was standing in. She fell. She wasn't hurt or anything, but it really proved things for me. He was willing to shove my innocent sister over a few words, and he will definitely do worse to me. He probably would have done worse to me if I came alone. We just immediately left after that and took my dog and my stuff back to my sister's. She helped me contact police and we have a report started. All the things he destroyed of mine, the texts admitting to it, the texts threatening me, the texts saying he would have never hurt our dog. But if it wouldn't have gotten me there, he would have done it. That he will do anything to get me back. And a small scrape my sister had on her hand when she fell. They asked if she wanted to press charges for the shove, but she said no for now. The officer was really nice and he told me to write down everything that he broke and write down the prices. He said it might add up to a felony charge if that's the route I wanted to take with him. I'm not sure it is, but at least it's there. That was last night. This afternoon, my brother and our friend, another man, are going to take me back to the house to pack up most of what I can. I had my sister tell my ex-boyfriend over text that we suggest he be gone from the house for a few hours. He responded to my sister with just horrid things about me, calling me names that I never would have expected from him, telling her about all the intimate details of our relationship, and other personal stuffs my sister don't know about. He said he wishes he never met me. My brother is urging me to try and file a restraining order. And for those of you concerned that he was stalking me or tracking me, I had my brother check everything, and he said it all looks fine. So at least there is that. I'm not concerned he will try and hurt me or anything when I go back to the house. Like I said, I'm going to go with my brother and a friend, both ex-military. I'm going to stay with two of my sisters until I figure out my situation. My brother is insisting on staying with us, at least for a few days while everything settles. I thought I was overreacting, but I think my brother honestly might be. Lol. I'm mourning the loss of my 2-year relationship with a man who I thought was the love of my life. A man I lived with and trusted wholeheartedly. But I don't know what happened, but he just isn't that man anymore. I think in some ways he never was. My sister made me think back on the past 2 years and I can name at least a dozen things he did to subtly control me or try to. The most terrifying part is that if I didn't have the weird urge to post here, I probably would have let him convince me to forgive him. That is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I hope no one ever has to experience something similar. Although I now know this is far from rare. This man is insane. I'm happy her and the dog are okay, but she needs to get far away from this person. Plus, he cannot know where she's living. Yeah. Even the small stuff, like hiding her running shoes, come across as psychotic. But destroying all her things? Holy crap. I've been collecting gaming books, dice, and other paraphernalia for 30 plus years now. God, typing that made me feel old. Anyway, if someone threw all of that out, I'd be livid. It may just be stuff, but it's my stuff. All those things I collected through my life, there are memories attached to that. Opie's brother is not overreacting, and I'm scared for her that she thinks he is. In fact, she is underreacting, lol, which I guess is because things need to sink in a bit more for her. It is genuinely such a scary situation. She's probably still in that mindset of, he's never done anything like this before. He wouldn't actually hurt me. But it's so obvious that he 100% would and probably will try to. Yeah, in the first post she said she dismissed the idea that he would do these things because why would he do that? And as I hope it became clear to her with time, he did it to hurt her. Not because he didn't get enough of her time, not because he was going through something difficult, but just because he wanted to hurt her, to feel in control of her and watch her be upset and confused. I am glad she never went back alone and hope she keeps that up. Witnesses, protectors, allies, all good and necessary in this type of situation. Last story. I, 22 female, mistakenly accused boyfriend, 22 male, of cheating on me. He says I want to break up. Have been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 2 years. Never had any real problems until now. He moved to a new job about 4 months ago and is being mentored into the job by a senior female employee. She calls him after work hours too, to make sure that work is on schedule and to inform him of various responsibilities of the next day. I've been okay with all this, until one day she called him around bedtime and asked him if he could pick her up in the morning because of some problems with her car. I found this unnecessary and told him to not do it. He said it was okay for one day and did pick her up in the morning. I argued with him in the evening and told him that I find her calling him outside of work to be uncomfortable. He rejected that and said she only says things about work. And as she mentors him, he cannot just ask her to not call anymore. This has been going on for some time, but the breaking point came yesterday. One of my friends called me yesterday noon and told me that she saw my boyfriend eating lunch in a restaurant with another woman. She described the woman, and I was sure that it was the mentor. In my mind, I was almost sure that it was nothing. But still, when he came home, I exploded and screamed at him and accused him of cheating on me with her. I shouted over him for a good 30 minutes. When I calmed down, he looked livid and showed me a photo on his phone. It was a selfie of him and several of his colleagues having lunch, and it was just that he and the mentor took a smaller single table by the side of the extended one. I apologized a lot, but he said that he doesn't feel comfortable that I am getting insecure over him working with a woman. Then today morning, he told me that he needed some space and went to his friend's house. He is not taking my calls anymore, and I want to go to his friend's house to talk to him. How can I convince him that I know that I went overboard with my reaction? Edit. Some of you have asked why the mentoring is continuing after 4 months. I can't say what his job is, but I know that the mentoring period for his job is 6 months. Now for the top advice. So you went from thinking it's nothing to screaming at him. Then he asks for some space, and you bombard him with calls and want to show up at his friend's house? He has every right to dump you, and I think most reasonable people would do the same. I suspect your relationship is toast, and that's on you. Yeah, I couldn't believe that part either. Why would you explode and scream at someone when you're almost sure nothing has happened and the boyfriend hasn't done anything wrong? Opie deserves to be broken up with, and is not nearly apologetic enough for her actions. I can't help but feel that any apology would come with a but. If he asks you to give him some space, give him some space. He left this morning, so wait at least a day until you try to contact him again. He might sort his thoughts out and come back to you. What are you doing, Opie? Sounds like an abusive, controlling, and coercive person to me. You're right. She definitely could be abusive, controlling, and coercive towards her boyfriend. Her insecurity is something to share and be vulnerable with him about in a controlled setting. Exploding accusatorily over circumstances and stress rather than waiting until she could have a conversation means she's unprepared to be in a healthy relationship and needs to work on herself rather than try to repair this. It's at her boyfriend's discretion, but he should break up with her. I could never imagine being with someone who doesn't trust me sharing time and attention with other people regardless of gender. Mini update. Sorry for not replying to the comments. I was distraught, and the opinions are understandably against me. I understand from reading many of them think that I might have BPD, still to be diagnosed. I'm planning to go to therapy and counseling. I've sent him a message saying this, and that he can take as much time as he wants, and that I would completely understand if he wants to break up. As for people asking why I screamed at him when I didn't think there was a problem, I really don't know. At that moment, I couldn't control myself, and all the irritation I felt from her spending time with him must have come out. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my friend's boyfriend she went off birth control? I, 22 female, am in a group chat with two of my friends, who I'll call Lily, 20 female, and Hannah, 21 female. Lily has been dating a guy for a few months now and really likes him, and I'm happy for her. We finally all have boyfriends, and we're planning to have a triple date sometime. But she seems really serious, and had already talked about moving in with him and marrying him. Last night, Lily put in the group chat that she thought she was infertile. I thought this was weird, so I asked why. She told me she had been off birth control and hasn't gotten pregnant yet. I'll admit I had a bit of judgment for her trying to start a family after dating the guy for such a short time, but I asked how long the both of them had been trying, as I thought it might just need time. She dropped the fact on me that her boyfriend did not know she was off birth control, and that they had slept together 4 times with him not knowing she was off birth control. After she said this, she again started to talk about how much she loved him and saw a future with him, but said she got off of the birth control due to side effects. I love Lily, but I felt as if I couldn't let this guy keep doing this without knowing, so I told him. Hannah supported my decision, but also felt I should have waited, as we know that Lily lies a lot and could lie to either us or him. Now Lily is mad at me. Her boyfriend is mad at me. She said I lied and he believed her. And I feel as if I might be the a-hole because it isn't my relationship and I should have stayed out of it, knowing that she lies about a lot of things and could have been lying to me and Hannah. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. While it's technically not your place to reveal that kind of thing, it's a good Samaritan act to warn someone when they're being deceived. He doesn't need to know every intimate detail of her life, but when he's being misled into thinking she's on birth control when she isn't, that impacts his life, her life, and potentially any children's lives. If it's no big deal, then she can warn him and let him know. But it's clear she doesn't respect him enough to want to get pregnant because she didn't seek out his cooperation. To add on to this, imagine Lily was fertile and did get pregnant. Then her boyfriend is stuck with a kid or paying child support for the next 18 years. Not an a-hole. Going off your only birth control and not informing your partner is extremely horrible. If her boyfriend chooses to believe her over you and not question the matter further, well, that's his choice, and predictable consequences may follow. Edited to add. Also, maybe a step back from Lily, who has a track record of lying. Not much good comes out of maintaining friendships with those people, and she clearly has no problem throwing you under the bus and lying to her boyfriend. Could you send him screenshots of the convo where she admits to going off birth control? Birth control is something you don't lie about, whether it's about being on it or being off. It's a huge breach of trust, and definitely something I would not be comfortable hiding from someone's significant other. Not at a-hole. What Lily is doing is heinous. Imagine if the tables were switched and he was the one poking holes in the protection. It's called reproductive coercion. You tried to warn him at least, so now it is on him to step up the precautions. Lily is not someone I would want as a friend, so the trash took itself out. It's assault. Not an a-hole. Adobe is morally obligated to let the boyfriend know. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for revealing a child's existence that my sister tried to hide? Little background. My half-sister, let's call her Ellie, and I have different fathers. My mother and her father separated when she was 2 years old, but he always made a great effort to be in her life and support her. My father was around for 10 years, but after he left my mother, he never wanted contact. He paid no child support, and I desperately wished that my father would love me. Now, my sister, 27, and me, 21, usually talk to each other over phone every day. At the beginning of last year, she met a guy and they fell in love. A few months after, it came out that his ex-girlfriend is pregnant by him and that she soon will birth his child. My sister was devastated. We often talked about how she could leave him if that's too much for her, or that she could accept the child and maybe it would turn out good. She decided to stay with him. But after the baby was born, she told me that he didn't want to pay child support and that he tried to pressure the mother of his child not to try getting money from him. Also, she doesn't want him to see the child and wants him to move with her very far away from this child. I was shocked with how she behaved. I mean, I didn't expect much from him, but she saw firsthand how cruel it can be for someone to feel like they're not wanted by their father. I told her that I don't find it okay the way they handled this, and she just cut me off. We had 4 months no contact, and she felt like I owe her an apology for getting into her business, which I refused. She never told me that she didn't tell our family, except our mom, anything about this child, but I slowly realized it. Yesterday, my grandparents called me and told me that Ellie acted weird, that she doesn't call anymore, and if they talk, she behaves weird. They asked her directly what was going on, but she didn't answer them. They were super weird, and I tried to escape the situation by telling them that Ellie is fine. They didn't believe me and asked me why I'd lie. I didn't feel comfortable, but then I told them that we don't speak to each other, how disappointed I am, and how they treat this child. My grandparents were super angry that they got lied to over months from her, and how they both treat this child. They stopped their financial support for her and are pretty furious. My sister called me and said that I destroyed her life because now she looks bad in front of our family. I'm really unsure if I was the a-hole in this situation. Not an a-hole. She looks bad because she supported the a-hole. Maybe it wasn't your business, but oh well, I'd have done the same thing. It's only fair to be honest. Also, what does she think? That if they have a child and for some reason split up, he won't do the same to her? Hijacking top comment. Maybe reading a little too much between the lines. But maybe Ellie's not okay? Her boyfriend seems like the real a-hole for sure, but maybe he's also an abuser and controlling Ellie? She never even asked you to lie to them. Not an a-hole. My sister called me and said that I destroyed her life because now she looks bad in front of our family. That's just the consequences of her actions. Not an a-hole. She doesn't look bad. She's a toxic hypocrite. She wants to pretend the child doesn't exist. Both she and the father of the child don't want to provide support to a newborn. She's a 27-year-old adult. If she thinks a child that can't even walk doesn't deserve support, why should she get financial support from your grandparents? She ruined her life herself. Actions have consequences, even outside of the law. She knew how the family would react. Not an a-hole. Your sister is 27 and receives financial support from her grandparents? Your sister is not the greatest. Her wonderful boyfriend has given her a preview as to how it will be if they split as parents. So I guess your sister is not that smart either. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling someone not to have a baby in their late 40s even though I did? I had unknown fertility issues. So after a few years, my husband and I stopped trying but decided not to use any kind of birth control. I ended up having my first spontaneous pregnancy at 45 years old and had my first and only child at 46. The doctor told me I had polycystic ovarian syndrome and said that it was common for women like me to have the problem almost fix itself closer to menopause, which is probably how it happened. We kept our child out of emotion. Yes, we were financially fine to do it and everything, but it was all about emotion. My cousin who got married at 40 is now looking into having kids and is starting to pursue treatment. She asked me what it was like and all of these questions, so I honestly told her that while I love my child more than anything and I wouldn't choose for her to not exist, I wouldn't have chosen to do this or forced it to happen. Why? It was not fun. I love my child and finally having the family I always wanted, but 46 is far, far too late to have a baby, and I wish someone had been honest with me when it was my time. I had so much extra testing and had to take so many precautions. My husband and I are now 58 years old, dealing with middle school registration and what to do with schooling options. I had to fill out kindergarten paperwork on the same day that we got our AARP cards.
I have to obsessively dye my hair and keep up on makeup and fashion trends, so my child's peers and other parents won't stare at us the way that people stared at older parents when I was a child. And I know that logically they weren't as old as we are. I have to constantly do research to make sure I'm prepared for this generation's challenges, and I'm not making my child look behind or outdated. My ordinarily healthy husband had a heart attack 2 years ago, and with that, family history and the world today, we have to be genuinely afraid that we will die before our child is 18. I have to have very firm plans on who exactly could immediately take our child in if needed. We can't have maybe like younger parents. We have had to prepare my middle schooler for these possibilities in as much of a child-friendly way as possible, and a written list of who to call, in what order, and a sample script of what to say. I have nobody that can help me with any of this because everyone I actually know had their kids in a completely different time. It's so many extra concerns and worries that how much extra money you have doesn't really make up for it as much as you would think. Once again, I love my child more than life itself, but it is not as easy as you can do it any time. It's just like becoming a parent at any other time. Now she's mad at me for not being supportive and people think I regret my child. I'm not. I love her. I'm just saying that there's a difference and that there are things to consider besides the emotion, especially when it's a very deliberate choice versus nature. Am I the a-hole for telling her this? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She asked, you answered. And may I just say, as I sit here at age 44, 20 weeks pregnant with my second child, you have scared the ever-loving daylights out of me. It's a lot different when it's common in your family and/or you have other children. I would be much less scared if my daughter had an older sibling and/or cousins of her own. Not the a-hole. You answered the wrong question. You took it at face value and told her the truth. The real question was, there is no question. Tell me sweet, sweet lies that validate my decisions. A lot of people told us the lies, but mostly it was just oversimplified because they wouldn't and couldn't know what the reality would be. We already had the emotions of, it's happening right now, and pregnancy hormones, so it would have changed a lot less than someone who was still planning it out. But there is never a perfect time to have a child. You can have a baby in your early 20s, when you are starting out with massive amounts of college debt and impossible job markets. You can have a baby in your 30s, when your career demands all of your time and attention. You can have a baby in your 40s, when your energy and abilities aren't what they used to be. Wanting to dye your hair and research trends shouldn't be something that you use to discourage someone from having a family. And unfortunately, health can fail you at any time. Your cousin asked you and you gave her an honest answer, so not an a-hole. But I don't believe there is ever a perfect time to start a family. Life is inconvenient. There are a lot of deeper issues that I touched on. I also left out due to the word count that my husband and I won't be able to retire because we will be in our 60s by the time she graduates high school, and we do need to help her through college. But I thought that would be implied due to our ages a little bit. College isn't really a requirement, but since she's an only child who will be orphaned very young, we feel we owe it to her to give her the best start possible. There's also major generational gaps in that. Plus, being an only child means that she will be far more alone than a typical child of people who had multiple kids in their 20s to 30s. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling niece I prefer my real name to a nickname? My youngest niece, Raven, recently entered 2nd grade and was filling out an identity and names worksheet. It was pretty much about family members. You talk to 3 family/friends about their identity. Raven asked to call me on Skype and talk about her worksheet. She asked if I had kids, what I did for a job, etc. At the very end, she said, I already knew this question. I've filled it out when we first started. I asked her what the question was. She said, your name is Whirly. I tell everyone my aunt has a cool name. I told her, nicely, that my name is actually Winona, and she is the only one who calls me Whirly, minus my sister. And my sister only calls me Whirly when talking about me to Raven. Raven got confused, and I said, when you were little, you could not pronounce Winona and said Whirly instead. Your mom thought it was so cute. Raven asked if everyone calls me Whirly, because it was so cute. I told her honestly, everyone calls me Winona, including the other nephews, because I don't use a nickname outside of Winnie. Everyone I know calls me Winona, just like everyone calls you Raven. My niece finished her homework, talked about her school day, and we said goodbye. The next day, my sister called me in a fit of rage, saying I ruined her daughter's whole night because she called me Aunt Winona instead of Whirly. My sister then explained that when Raven called Uncle Top, my brother Christopher, she asked him, "Do you like being called Uncle Top?" And when he said, "Actually, if you want to know, I go by Chris." So now Raven is upset. The other adults have told her they dislike the nicknames. And while I thought it was cute when she was little, I kind of hated the nickname. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. All you did was tell her your real name. So did her uncle. Raven had to learn eventually. I imagine it comes down to her sister choosing not to use her siblings' actual names because she thought her daughter's nicknames were so cute and kept it going long after. She's basically taught her wrong for her own entertainment. Not an a-hole. Your sister seems to be the problem, not Raven. The kid probably just registered the name change and asked the next one, and that is it. I doubt the kid had a meltdown or anything about the name. You can even tell Raven that Winona is a pretty cool name too. It's not that common, and there are famous people that share your name. I love my name. I love being Aunt Winona. Not an a-hole. I understand children have a hard time pronouncing things, but as they get older, it's okay to set boundaries with preferred names and pronouns, etc. I don't think you did anything wrong. You just gave her your preference and prepared her for the real world. I felt like that was part of the reason her homework existed. I know a lot of kids don't know their parents' real names outside of mom and dad. I am not a huge fan of nicknames. I had issues when I was little with people calling me sweetie or honey. I would always tell them it's Winona. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend a wedding when my husband is not welcome there? My 30 female friend 31 female is getting married in August. She invited me and my husband to the wedding already in October when she got engaged, and I was asked to be her maid of honor. She didn't have the dates immediately as she wasn't sure how it will be with COVID, but now she has the dates and she told me she thinks it would be better if my husband didn't come. I asked her why, and she didn't want to tell me at first, but then she said it is because he is shorter than me, and it would look weird on pictures. He has around 165 centimeters, 5 feet 4.961 inches, while I have 166 centimeters, 5 feet 5.354 inches. I think the difference is not that big, and I offered I wouldn't wear heels, but she said I must wear them because I'm the maid of honor and bridesmaids will wear heels as well. I said that if my husband is not invited because of his height, I am not coming to her wedding. She said the day is about her, and not about me and my husband, and I should respect her wishes about her day. She said that she counts on me as the maid of honor, and I can't do this to her. I told her she is being shallow, and that it is either me and my husband or none of us. I talk about it with my husband, and he thinks I am not a a-hole and actually would think it would be bad of me to agree with my friend. However, he doesn't like her that much. She doesn't know that, so it couldn't play a role in it. So I'm not sure if his opinion is really objective. I asked my friend, and she said I am the a-hole because it is just one day, and it is about the bride, so I shouldn't make a drama out of it. So perhaps I'm the a-hole because I'm focusing on me being there with my husband and not at what the bride wants? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. You and your husband are 100% correct. What on earth did she think your response would be? I think both of us or neither of us is entirely fair. For someone who is about to get married, she seems to have an odd idea of what marriage entails. You can't have it both ways. It sounds like she is essentially saying my marriage is important, yours is not. Thank you so much. I really started to feel bad because of the other friend saying I should respect the bride, and it is her day. I wouldn't mind it if she just agreed with me not wearing heels, but this felt like too much to ask. I am also worried it would hurt my husband if I agree with her, and I didn't want to lie to him and pretend that the reason is something else. Not a a-hole. The bride is being very rude and shallow, and so is your other friend. Time to get new friends. Not a a-hole, and I would completely ditch this person as a friend. We have known each other for a very long time, so I don't want to end the friendship, but I think that she won't forgive me if I don't come to the wedding. Not today, Hal. And she's not a real friend. I would tell her you're not going, and unless she gives a real heartfelt apology, you're not going to be friends anymore. I don't think she will apologize. I know her for a very long time, so I don't want to lose her as a friend, but I think she will not forgive me if I didn't come to her wedding. Update. After all the support I got here, I'm making a move. I wrote her a text saying that I understand that wedding can be stressful, and she wants it to be perfect, but that it really hurts what she wanted from me. I wrote that I'm standing to what I said, and unless my husband is invited, I am not coming. I wrote I want to be there for her and help her as the maid of honor, but I can't do that if she will have superficial demands. So far, no reply. I'm giving her time till tomorrow, and then I will write her that we are not coming so I can close it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for disinviting all my friends from my wedding? I, 28 male, will be marrying my fiancé, 24 female, and we are also having a baby. Just to give a background, my fiancé Evelyn and I have been dating for 4 years, and honestly, it's been great. She's my rock, and I can't imagine my life without her. Evelyn is completely different from all the women I have dated in the past. They were tall and blondes, whereas my Evelyn is short, barely reaches my shoulder, and is a brunette. And to me, she looks like a fairy, which is also the first thought I had when I first saw her. And since then, fairy has become a nickname for me for her. My friends Dan, Jacob, and Ryan, all 28, always seemed to dislike Evelyn, especially Dan, saying she wasn't my type, but I always brushed it aside thinking they were just confused. But as they saw how serious I had gotten with her, given that my past relationships lasted less than a year, the insults and cheating accusations became frequent. And I even went 5 months without talking to them until they apologized. They were also always nice to her and didn't show any sign of hatred, so she never knew about this. Since COVID restrictions have lifted in my country, I invited all my friends to a restaurant to give them the news of our engagement and pregnancy. Evelyn and I arrived early and were sitting when our friends entered, so they didn't notice the bump she had. We all sat down and the conversation was going smoothly, but I did notice Dan getting too drunk. So my brother, who knows about the news, casually asked, "So what's the special occasion?" To which I smiled brightly and showed our rings to everyone and announcing our engagement and also about the baby. And the chaos unfolded. Dan suddenly threw his glass on the floor, screamed, "You freaking loose woman!" pointing at my Evelyn, which had us all taken aback. Jacob tried to hold him back, but he kept spouting profanities and saying, "You can't have his child. The freaking fairy's pregnant. And how freaking dare you?" until the restaurant kicked us out. I was so shocked I couldn't even process anything. So me and Evelyn just left while she cried the entire way home. I'm now learning that Dan had a thing for Evelyn ever since I introduced her, and he always hoped I would break up with her so he could have her, which is why he always bad-mouthed her while we were dating. But the most shocking thing, which I learned, was all of my friends, especially Jacob and Ryan, helped Dan or either knew about it and didn't tell me. So enraged, I disinvited everyone for my wedding, and it has been a month since this happened. My parents, my sisters, and close relatives keep pressuring me to invite my friends, Dan excluded, to the wedding. Since the wedding is approaching, my parents called me an a-hole for not inviting any of my friends. And now even I'm reconsidering everything since all of my friends did apologize. But at the same time, they completely broke my trust and almost made me lose the woman I love. So am I the a-hole for disinviting all my friends from my wedding? Not the a-hole. Sorry to say, but they aren't your friends. Do not allow anyone at your wedding, or in your social life for that matter, who will harass and disparage your partner. Best wishes on your new baby and marriage. Not the a-hole. Dan's feelings are one thing, but Jacob and Ryan helped him to try to sabotage Opie's relationship. And for what? Did they think Opie would just be okay with Dan dating his ex? Don't date your friend's ex's bro code 101. Also, sounds like they fed Dan's delusions. Any sane person would have told Dan to move on long ago. These guys are toxic and shouldn't be in Opie's life. What made Dan think if she wasn't with Opie, she would be with him? That was mighty confident of him/them to assume. Or did he think because he was calling dibs she was going to fall into his arms? I don't know. I have questions. Did he/they know her before she was introduced to them by Opie?
Were they ever involved? In any case, these don't seem much like friends to me. Weddings are for family and friends, and they don't really meet the criteria. Marriages need a supportive people who support the marriage. People who don't add cracks to its foundation in a myriad of ways if you're not careful. Not today, Hull. Obviously not today, Hull. And you need to tell your family exactly why they're not invited, so you can prevent any sort of sneaky secret invites. Do not let these ex-friends come to your wedding. Best of luck on your new life with your happy little family. Thanks. I'm trying to reason with my family, but they seemed adamant, and I have a feeling that they know more than they are letting on. Not today, Hull. Frankly, don't understand why your family cares. I'm trying to figure it out too. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for getting married before my sister who got engaged before me? My sister's boyfriend proposed about 2 years ago. At that time, they had only been dating for 1.5 years, so while everyone was happy for them, it was quite a shock. We asked if they were going down the traditional route and get married within a year, but they said that they were not and would maybe get married in 2 to 3 years. At the time of their engagement, my boyfriend and I had been together for 4 years and were not engaged. A couple of weeks back, my boyfriend proposed and I said yes. We announced it and also set a date for our wedding, which will be in a couple of months. My sister and I are very close, but she seemed pretty put off by our announcement for some reason. I asked her about it, and she confessed that she thought I was being inconsiderate by getting married before her, since she got engaged earlier. Personally, I feel like you can't expect other people not to get married just because you're engaged. It would be one thing if they got engaged and set a date, but they both said that they would probably wait for a couple of years to get married. I asked if they were planning something soon, and if that was why she was upset, but she said that was not the case. Since we are close and usually get along, I wonder if I really did something wrong based on her reaction. I can understand that they might have wanted to get married first, but it also seems weird to expect my boyfriend and I to just wait for who knows how long to get married. Now for the comments. Not today, Hull. Does she really expect no one to get married for 5 to 8 years while they make up their minds? So not today, Hull. That being said, you might try to be kind, in case her real problem is her boyfriend proposed with no plan to actually get married, and she wants to get married badly. If she really isn't ready to get married to, then she is very self-centered. Agree. Plus, by the sister's own logic, it was inconsiderate of her and her boyfriend to get engaged first, since Opie has been in a relationship longer. This is exactly what I was thinking. I wonder what Opie's sister would say if Opie told her this. When I first read the title, I thought the sister had already chosen a date, and the date was gonna be sometime soon, but delayed due to the bug or something. This just makes no sense. Opie gets engaged, but they aren't allowed to get married for 5 years because they have to wait on her sister who has no idea? Lol. Not today, Hull. You snooze, you lose. If she wanted to get married first, she should have done something about it. Not today, Hull. She's making it seem like you maliciously planned to get married before her, when obviously that's not the case. You said it yourself. Just because she's engaged doesn't mean other people can't get married as well. I don't think she's making it seem like they did so maliciously. She's suggesting that they were inconsiderate in doing so. Malice and negligence are different. The issue with her idea is that it only makes sense to think of planning your wedding before someone else is married as wrongdoing if you did it maliciously. I don't think you owe people any consideration in happening to plan a wedding before them, so you can't negligently plan a wedding first. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my half-sister I don't want her mom to come to my wedding? Half-sister and I share the same bio dad. He died when I was 4, and before her mom knew she was pregnant. We didn't know each other growing up, and we only met about 2 years ago. After our dad died, my mom kept full custody of me. Half-sister's mom, who was married to our dad, wanted to split custody still. My mom said no. Half-sister's mom was pissed, and when she found out she was pregnant, never made contact again. My half-sister reached out 2.5 years ago. Told me the story, we had a DNA test done, and it confirmed we're half-sisters. The relationship has been difficult. She blames my mom for us not growing up together.
She believes, even though her mom never told my mom she was pregnant, that if my mom had been willing to share me and let me grow up with 2 moms and 2 households, then none of this would have happened. I just view it as that's life sometimes, and while my mom could have allowed it, I'm really glad she didn't. It's not like I was old enough to remember her mom. I completely forgot about her, and her mom ended up remarrying, so it adds another layer of difficulty. But regardless, it is one thing that has always been between us. Her mom is now seeing our meeting and building a relationship as a chance to have a relationship with me, and I'm not interested. At all. I'm getting married this summer, and my half-sister was invited. She wanted an invite for her mom, and stepdad/dad by extension. I said no. She told me she's my stepmom and should be invited. I told her she's a stranger, not my stepmom, and not someone I would be comfortable having at my wedding. Half-sister is mad and thinks I'm being petty and mean to someone who never had a choice in losing touch with me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your wedding, your rules. Also, how is she a stepmom to you if she's a stranger basically? That's a hilarious concept. She was married to my dad before he died and was in my life for a couple of years. So to them, that makes her still my stepmom. She was your stepmom for a short time and before we even hit elementary. That's a stranger. Not a a-hole. It's your wedding, you get to choose the guests invited. If you don't really know this woman and are uninterested in having a relationship with her, then you are well within your rights to not invite her. Do understand though that if you do not invite her, your half-sister is likely to back out of having any relationship with you. I'm fine with that if it happens. If she's going to be petty about putting her mother first, without recognizing that the woman did nothing to have a relationship with you for years, or facilitating you have a relationship with your sisters, then it's probably for the best if she walks. Not a a-hole. I hate seeing stories where a surprise sibling is suddenly being pushed to have a relationship with people they don't even know. It's your wedding. It's your choice, and they just have to suck it up. Not a a-hole. It's your wedding, your guest list. You're under no obligation to pretend a closeness that doesn't exist. You've done nothing wrong. You didn't create this messy situation you happened to get born into. Your half-sister might not have been an a-hole to ask once, but she's a jerk for sulking after being told no.